I think I fell in love with history when I was about 12, 13 years old, and I looked in the dictionary in the school library to see what a historian was. I was thinking about some kind of career for me at that young age, and it just said someone who loved history, and I thought, well, I already am a historian then because I love history. Well, as I got older and I went to college, and I ended up majoring in history, and as a pastor for 50 years, I've used that love of history to be able to understand the Bible and understand what God has done with His people and what God is doing with His people. And so over the next few days, weeks, maybe a couple of weeks, I want to share with you what's happening, I think, from a historical point of view in our society. I've never seen anything like this in my years. There's so much going on, and people saying such horrible negative things about our nation. And America is a great nation, the greatest nation in the world. And why anyone would want to downplay that is something that we need to take notice of, because there's something going on. I know America is not perfect, but there isn't another nation in the world that I would want to live in, and I've traveled around the world, and there's nothing like America in this world. In our Pledge of Allegiance, we declare that America is one nation under God. But when I look in the Bible and I read the history of the Bible, the history of Christianity, the history of the Jewish nation, I see that the nation of Israel, I see so many similarities between our nations that I think we could say it really is two nations under God. In fact, Abraham Lincoln must have felt the same way, because he once called America the almost chosen people of God. What's the secret to the greatness, to America's greatness? Well, I think it's the same thing that made Israel great. And that is, God said He was going to make a great nation out of them. The nation of Israel began when God called Abram and made a covenant with him. You see, God doesn't call a nation. He doesn't call the entire American nation. He doesn't call the entire Israeli nation. He starts off with one man or one woman. Whenever God sees a need, whenever there's a need that God has in this world and He wants to do something, He always looks out among the people and He looks for one man. He looks for one woman, and He speaks to them. And through that one man or woman, over and over and over and over again, we read it all throughout the Bible, God did amazing, amazing things along the way. From that point on, Israel became a special people, a chosen people. They would be the instrument God would use to reveal Himself to mankind. His redemptive plan for the world would come through Israel. So God spoke that same covenant then to His son, Abraham's son, Isaac. And then He spoke to Abram's grandson, Jacob. And He promised them the same thing that He promised Abraham. He said, I will make you into a great nation. From one person into a great nation of millions of people. He said, I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all the people on earth, He said, will be blessed through you. And Israel has been a blessing to all the people on earth. And America has been a blessing to all the people on the earth. There is no nation in the world that has done more to feed the world, to be able to bring peace to the world. World War I, World War II, America was the difference between losing and winning the wars. God spoke that same covenant to all those people. There can be no doubt in my mind who gave birth to, who established, who developed, who protected, and who blessed the nation of Israel to this very day. God has kept His covenant with His chosen people. And as I look at the history of America, I see God also spoke in the beginning of our nation to men and women like the Pilgrims and like George Washington and Betsy Ross and Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin. And he made a covenant with them also that we know as a Declaration of Independence. Although God never signed it, his fingerprints are all over it. God led our forefathers, as he had Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to leave their homeland, to be able to establish a new nation, an almost chosen people that would receive the privilege and obligation of being his instrument in his redemptive plan for the whole world. Christopher Columbus is the first one to be able to make it public that there was a new land that many people had not seen. I know the Vikings had already been there, and others had obviously already been there. But he was the one who made it available, who opened that door up for the people of Europe and other places to be able to come to America, to what they called the new land. And in the same way that God called Abraham, if you read the words of Christopher Columbus, you'll see that he believed God was calling him to do what he did in discovering that new world. Let me read what he said in his own words. He said, "It was the Lord who put into my mind. I could feel his hand upon me. The fact that it would be possible to sail from here to the Indies. All who heard of my project rejected it with laughter, ridiculing me. There is no question that the inspiration was from the Holy Spirit, because he comforted me with rays of marvelous illumination from the Holy Scriptures, a strong and clear testimony from the 44 books of the Old Testament, from the 4 Gospels, and from the 23 epistles of the blessed apostles, encouraging me continually to press forward. And without ceasing, for a moment they now encourage me to make haste." It was no accident that from one man, Abraham, would come a people who would influence mankind more than any other nation in history. And it was no accident that a handful of farmers, armed with rusty squirrel guns and pitchforks, could soundly defeat the most highly trained army of its day, and defeat them and develop in just 150 years to be the strongest nation in the world. Now, I did major in history in college, and as a student of history, it's apparent to me that someone is attempting to rewrite the history of the United States in order to fulfill their own agenda. Something is wrong here. The nation that has fed more people in the world than any other nation, that has always been willing to reach out to those less privileged, is being put into the basket as if they are a horrible, racist, homophobic, all the other things that you want to talk about in this world. America is not perfect. We want to be a more perfect union. We've always been that, and we have come a long way since the Civil War. Do we have more ways to go? Absolutely we do. But you have to see that we are progressing and we are getting better in every way. Our transportation is better. Our lifestyles are better. Everything is better because we're all in that progressive method of getting better and trying to make life more livable for everyone, not just a few. Why would they try to change history? Why are some people so convinced that they need to present America as a flawed nation without any real love, or with all the negative things that they can come up about it? Well, maybe we can learn from George Orwell's classic book, 1984. He says this: "He who controls the past controls the future, and who controls the present controls the past." And so the goal of those in control today is their attempt to control the past of America so they can control the future of America. Another historian has said it this way: the first step in liquidating a people is to destroy its history. Tearing down monuments and burning books and burning flags and forgetting about all the positive people all the white positive people who were also very, very influential in winning the Civil War and ending slavery. That you can't rewrite history like that and gain the truth. There's no doubt in my mind that those who seek to control the present are also trying to rewrite history. They operate on the philosophy, it seems, that if you say something often enough and long enough, eventually it'll be accepted as truth, even if it isn't truth. For instance, a survey reported that 67% of Americans believe that the phrase separation of church and state is a part of our Constitution. Now, yes, it was written by Thomas Jefferson, the primary architect of the Declaration of Independence, but it was a personal letter written to a group of churches, Baptist churches. It isn't written anywhere in the Constitution. And I'm afraid what we have developed that from, that letter, not the Constitution, but we have taken it from trying to have a separation of church and state to having an alienation of the church from the state. That's not what it intends. Those same historical revisionists want us to believe that Jefferson didn't even believe in God, that he was a deist at best or an atheist at worst. Instead of listening to the revisionists tell us what Jefferson believed, we need to listen to what Jefferson wrote in his own words. And I quote, "Christianity is the best friend of government because it is the only religion of the world that deals with the heart." Again, he wrote, "Can the liberties of a nation be secure when we have removed the conviction that these liberties are a gift of God?" And now listen to what he wrote in the Declaration of Independence. You should know this. You've read it many times. You've heard it many more times. "We hold these truths to be self-evident." What truths? He is affirming that there are some absolute truths in life. All right, so we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. In other words, he recognizes that we are all created beings. And the rights that we have are inalienable. That means no one can take them from us. And government doesn't give them to us. God, the Creator, gives us those. And we are endowed by them, by that Creator, with those rights. And there are some absolute rights in life, is what he's saying also. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's not all the rights you have from God, but those are some of the rights that you have. The ACLU, the liberals, the humanists, the atheists, the historical revisionists would like to deny the historical fact that this nation was founded upon Christian principles by Christians, but they're wrong. That is, they're rewriting history. That is not the truth. George Washington made no secret of his Christian faith. In his general order, he called for worship services every Sunday during the Revolutionary War. He said, "To the distinguished character of a patriot, it should be our highest glory to add the more distinguished character of a Christian." When a stranger came to the Continental Congress and they wanted to know which one was George Washington, a friend to him said, "He's easy to spot. When the Congress begins to pray, Washington will be the tall man who will go to his knees." When he was sworn in as the first president of the new United States of America, he took the oath, the book in his hand. After the oath was completed, he took that Bible and he kissed it. And then he said, not in the oath, but his own words, he ad-libbed, So help me God. And that phrase has been added for every president since that day. He realized that God's hand was upon this almost chosen people of God. The secret of America's greatness is the secret of Israel's greatness. That's what I'm trying to say. They both were founded by men who had faith in God, and they both made a covenant with God. And because of their faith, you and I are reaping the blessings planted by our forefathers in the beginning of this almost chosen people. We are recipients of the gift of freedom and the blessings and the progress that has been made to make this a more perfect union as the almost chosen people of God. Next time, I want to talk to you about the danger that we face in America's future. God bless you.